a $500 setup versus a $20,000 plus budget. In this video, I'm going to run through 4 different gear lists depending on budget to give you guys a really good idea about what you should be looking at to buy depending on your budget and your skill level. Now, the gear list that I'm about to create, I'm actually going to build them based on category of equipment that you can buy that kind of is a next step up from the previous one. So we'll start at a $500 setup, then a $2,000 setup, a $7,000 setup, a $20,000 setup. After that, I'm going to show you my gear that I use to make multiple 5-figure per month with my video and photo business. Okay, let's get into it. Starting with the $500 budget. If your budget truly is only $500, the only thing that you should be buying here, and the only thing I'm listing in this list, is a $500 M1 MacBook Air. If you genuinely don't have the money for a $1,000 or $2,000 setup, don't worry about getting a camera. Just lock in on the computer, learn how to edit and make money through your computer, and then use the money that you make editing to fund your next campaign. Or just get a job that can help you afford to get better quality gear. So that's the $500 budget covered just like that. So now let's move on to the $2,000 budget. Now I'll consider this budget to be the bare minimum of what you need to get before you can be a professional videographer that charges professional prices. Now obviously you got to know how to use the equipment in the first place, but in terms of gear, anything cheaper than the stuff I'm about to list is probably just not worth buying because it is 2025 and I'd prefer to not shoot you in the foot by setting your baseline too low. So let's just set it really solid. This is essentially the best bang you can get for your buck. You can probably find some cheaper versions of these products elsewhere on Amazon, stuff like that, but this is just to put you in the ballpark. So for a camera, I recommend the Canon R50V for $700. For lenses, if you're in real estate, a RF 10 to 18mm for $320, which is a 16 to 29mm equivalent on a full frame. But if you're not doing real estate, the RF 18 to 45mm for $330 is a really good quality lens. For SD card, just anything that's 128 gigabytes or above, you can get one for $20. In terms of a mic, DJI Mic Mini 2 for $90. It's a really good value mic. I've used them in some of my earlier vlogs on this channel, and I actually appear it with Adobe Enhance, which makes the mic sound way better than it actually is. For gimbal, I recommend the Weebill 3S for $270. I use that for the first year of my business. And a tripod, it doesn't matter what you get. I found one here for $19. It's gonna do the job just fine. In terms of a drone, if you need a drone for your workflow, such as real estate, I recommend the Mavic Mini 2 for $300. For your editing computer, honestly, the M1 MacBook Air, $500 is a really solid computer that's gonna get you a lot of the way there. I started on an M1 MacBook Pro and I used that for about 4 months before I upgraded to a Mac Studio because I could genuinely just afford to buy the upgrade. So everything that I've just mentioned in this gear list totals to about $2,000. If you're in real estate, it's just under $2,000. And if you're not even in real estate and you don't need a drone, it's actually more closer to $1,600. But honestly, I recommend getting a drone anyway, because if you're doing weddings or just really anything, most clients really ask, do you have a drone? And if you don't have a drone, well, you may be missing out on some extra cash or being able to charge even more for the work that you're gonna do. So for $2,000, this is the type of gear that I was running back when I started my business 5 years ago. And it was probably until I was making over $10,000 a month before I started to even upgrade some of this gear, which that obviously brings us nice and smoothly onto the $7,000 budget. Now, this is a budget that you'll look at getting if you're already in business, you're making money with your business, and the money that you're profiting from your content business is able to fund this reinvestment. Or if you just have a bigger budget to start off with, well, this is the stuff I recommend. For the camera, I recommend the Canon R6 Mark II for $2,000, or if you want a Sony version of the R6, the A7 IV for $2,400 is an absolute killer. For lenses, for Canon, if you have a real estate focus, the RF 14 to 35mm f4 lens, $1,400 is a super solid lens. But if you want just a general all-rounder, you can get an RF 28 to 70mm f2.8 for $1,100. And the equivalent lenses for Sony would be the Sony Vario X16 to 35 for $1,000, or the general all-rounder, the Samyang 24 to 70mm for $800. We used this exact lens for about 3 years, and this was an absolute killer lens, and it was honestly probably the best value lens I've ever purchased. Now that we do have a little bit more money to play with, I recommend getting a polarizer. I recommend the Nissi True Color polarizer for $130. In terms of an SD card, I recommend the Pro Grade Digital 512GB variant for $140. For gimbal, DJI RS4 for $540. Now you can go to the RS4 Pro if you want, but the RS4 is going to deal with the payload that you're about to put on it if you buy this type of gear. Tripod, I recommend $140, but you can really get anything. You can get a $20 one, or you can spend more if you really want. This is going to get you a super solid job. For audio, the Rode Wireless Go 2s with the live cable, you can get 2 transmitters and 1 receiver for $300. And in terms of a drone, I highly recommend the DJI Air 3S Fly More combo for $1,600. We have 2 of them in our business right now, and they are really good value drones. They get mint colors, but they don't cost a whole lot of money, which is a big bonus. For editing, I recommend the 16-inch MacBook Pro, either the M1 Pro or the M4 base. You can get the M1 Pro for 800 bucks. It's super good value, and you're probably gonna need some external storage at this point because you've got a lot of work coming through. The Samsung T7 2TB for 130 bucks, I highly recommend getting that. And to help speed up your editing workflow, the LG 27-inch monitor for 250 bucks is a highly recommended option from my point of view anyway. So in terms of totals, if you're real estate focused, it's gonna set you back about 7,425 bucks. But if you're not in real estate, it's gonna set you back about $7,000. And the only difference in that price is just the lens choice. Now, if I'm being completely honest, this setup is gonna be just fine for you to make tens and tens of thousands of dollars a month. You don't even need to really go any higher than this if you don't want to. This is like literally everything that you could need. I would recommend even getting 2 of these setups so you can either have a new staff member or you can have 2 camera setups for 2 cam setup clients. But let's just theorize that you have absolutely no budget here. You can spend whatever you want. We're gonna run with a $20,000 setup or a little bit more. I'm recommending the Canon R5C for 3,400 bucks. Ideally, you get 2 of them. You can either get 2 R5Cs or I would recommend the C80 would be a brilliant choice. Pair that with an RF 15 to 35mm lens for 2,400 bucks and an RF 24 to 70 f2.8 lens for 2,400 bucks. And in terms of a polarizer, I'm recommending the same as before. For recording, I recommend the CF Express Type B card from ProGrade, the 1TB variant for 320 bucks. And in terms of photos, the ProGrade Digital 512GB for 140 bucks. Now you're probably gonna need some extra batteries for the R5C. I recommend the LPE6P batteries. Get 5 to 10 of those. That's between 400 and 800 bucks. And for external charging on the go or just literal all day battery life, the SmallRig VB99 battery pack for 200 bucks is gonna make sure that you're never gonna run dry on electricity. Drone, DJI Mavic 4 Pro Creator Combo specifically, not just the standard Mavic 4 Pro, the Creator Combo, because it has a higher recording bit rate. For the gimbal, the DJI RS4 Pro for 870 bucks, absolute must. And for tripod, honestly, your preference can be anywhere from 100 bucks to 1,000 bucks plus. It just depends on what you really need it to do. For audio, honestly, you can go more, but man, the Rode Wireless Go 2s for 300 bucks, they're just a super good deal and they get such a good job done that I don't really have a recommendation for anything else. And when it comes to your computer, the M4 Max MacBook Pro, the 16-inch unbinned version, 1TB with 48 gigs of RAM for 4K. But again, if you have no budget, the 64GB variant, 4TB for 5,200 bucks is gonna give you extra headroom without going too unnecessary on the whole thing. If you even need extra storage, the 4TB T7 for 250 bucks is a goodie. And in terms of a monitor, the Apple Studio display monitor for 1,600 bucks is gonna be super solid. So if we total everything up for the no budget category, $21,183 is what this is all going to cost if you just got one Canon R5C and one of everything. But if you got a dual camera setup, it's going to cost you just under 28,000 bucks. But if you get the C80, it's going to cost a few grand more than that. Now again, this budget is actually pretty conservative when we consider no budget, but honestly, this is some super high quality gear that you can make literal a ton of money every single month with this thing, especially if you're starting out. You don't need anything more than this. I mean, we're literally in the cinema camera line at this point, and we've got everything that we need to create an insane amount of value for clients that, like, honestly, your biggest bottleneck is going to be yourself. So I would recommend just getting this, getting better at the craft, and then coming back to figuring out if you want to buy a Red Dragon or a Alexa, if you really want. So now that we've gone through a $500 setup, a $2,000 setup, a $7,000 setup, and a $20,000 setup, let me run you through what my setup is and how much it costs me. Now keep in mind, for this list, I have 2 of everything. We have 2 completely independent setups so that me and Campbell can be on 2 different shoots throughout the day and not have to kind of swap things halfway through. So it does add a lot of extra cost, but it does add a significant amount of convenience to the business. We run the Canon R5Cs for 3,400 bucks, the RF 15 to 35mm lens for 2,400 bucks. We run the Nissi TrueColor polarizers for 135 bucks, the ProGrade CF Express Type B cards, 512GB variant for 190 bucks, ProGrade SD card, only 128GB for 90 bucks. That's really just for raw photos. And we have 4 of the LPE6P batteries for 320 bucks. And we also have the SmallRig VB99 battery pack for 200 bucks. In terms of the drones, we have DJI Air 3S Flymore combos for 1,600 bucks. Again, they get such a good image. Yes, the Mavic 4 Pro is better, but bang for buck, these get a stunning image when exposed correctly. We have the DJI RS4 gimbals for 540 bucks. And I think we have the Vanguard something tripod for 140 bucks. For audio, we still run the Rode Wireless Go 2s. And for computers, I have the 16-inch M4 Max MacBook Pro, the binned version. So that's the 36GB RAM, 1TB option. That's about 3K. And I pair that with a Samsung T7 4TB SSD for 250 bucks. And I just have an LG monitor that costs about 300 bucks. So that all totals to about $13,300 $328 for one of those setups, but we have two of them. So that obviously boils down to a total cost of something like 26,000 bucks. For sure, the gear that we have, some of it could be better and some of it might be overkill, but we have a nice balance with the gear. And again, we are continually upgrading our stuff as needed. We don't just willy-nilly upgrade the gear. Like when the next drone breaks, then we'll probably get the Mavic 4 Pro. But at the moment, while it's still going really good and there's no real need to, because our quality, our end result is still that good, we're just not gonna waste money on it just yet. Whew. That was a bit of a mouthful. I hope that this video was super helpful for you to figure out what gear you needed depending on what kind of budget you know you're working with. You don't have to get exactly everything that I've suggested for each budget. You can literally be anywhere in between, but I just wanted to kind of give you some really distinct categories based on kind of the quality of gear you can get at each kind of price point. If you have any specific questions on gear after you've been watching this video, hit me up in the comments. I'll be super happy to help you out, answer them, clear them up so that you can actually go to the store, buy it, come back, and just start creating so you can actually start earning real money. Because to me, that's the whole point of the game. See you soon.